What's up, fam? I'm Jazz, and this is Blackxecutive, a networking podcast for Black creative pros by Black creative pros, sharing inspirational stories, actionable advice, and giving away the game to succeed in your business and your career. Join the network where dreamers become doers and the aspiring become inspired. Listen and watch on blackxecutive.com. Let's get to it. What's up, y'all? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Blackxecutive Podcast. This is season 2, and I'm your host, Jazz. Today, we're talking to artist Nariscia Henriques. Nariscia has the patternlife.com, and the Pattern Life is a home and lifestyle brand inspired by how the mind, body, and spirit connects with nature, color, and each other. She also works in this very cool medium combining nudity and art and digital space. Welcome to the show, Nariscia.
Hi, Jazz. How are you?
Pretty good. One thing that I wanted to say before we get into everything that stood out to me is like when I reached out to schedule, you're like, we have to do it on these particular days. And I thought that was just like, I am striving to reach that level of intuitiveness with nature and spirituality and and I just admire that so much that you're like, you know what, we have to go with these particular days because I know nature and,
It's also like aligning with the planets. So for me, I just know that like once I know what each day represents, it's ruled by a different planet. So I just try to align myself and what I do with the energy so that I can amplify the energy that I want. So like today, Friday, is the day of Venus, and that's all about art, like beauty, so like it's like a nice, like loving day. Do you know what I mean? So like I felt like that would be a cool day to do this because I love art. So there you go. And like my brand is basically about your home and your like the aesthetics of having like beautiful artwork around you, but having the spiritual connection to you on like it's like a in the background sort of vibration that I feel like my art gives off. So that it's positive energy, and then it sort of like invites you in so that you can go a bit deeper and vibrate a little bit higher. So yeah.
Yes, I love it. I'm not at that point yet where I just know I'm getting the days and whatnot and what's happening with the cosmos energy, but I'm getting there. But I respect that so much. You're like, look, this is when it's going to be the best experience for you.
Yeah.
So to get into it, who are you? Who is Nariscia, and what sparked your interest into the arts?
To be honest, I've never had to like question who I am. And when I say that, I mean that I've always known that I'm an artist. Like it's like from a child, I always had like coloring books. I always had felt tips, paints. And so I've always had the access to creativity so that I can express myself. So from like, as long as I can remember, I've always known that I love art and I'm an artist. So once I knew that label, I guess, I knew already like, okay, that's what I am, I guess. So yeah, I'm an artist. And also as well, like I feel that when people call themselves artists, it's like you feel like it has to be because you are like professionally an artist or like you can traditionally do certain art techniques, but because art is just so expansive, I feel like everyone is an artist, really and truly. I mean, like we're all creators. We have the ability to make art. So I think that's why I always knew. Do you know what I mean? It was always in me. But yeah.
That's beautiful. I feel that you just knew that that's what you're supposed to do. So I think that rolls perfectly into my next question. How does your creative journey relate to your spiritual journey?
So I feel that my creative journey has been like a visual representation of my spiritual evolution because when I look back at all the artwork that I've created, it's a extension of who I was at the time. And so I feel that it's just so nice to have that like archive of my creations and be able to like identify who I was, what Nariscia was that when I created that piece. And they all make up who I am. And so the more and more that I've become more in tune with my spiritual self, just naturally, I've been able to like infuse that into my art. And I was even thinking the other day when I was looking at my Instagram, I was like, wow, my art has really changed. Like, I don't have all of my art on my Instagram at the minute, but just for me knowing myself, I was like, wow, I really have changed like the way I create, and I found that so beautiful. So I feel like it's like a parallel. When you look at my art, you can see the evolution of my spirituality.
Yes, that's awesome. You just have, like, as you express, like you say, you just keep up with your journey as you go throughout that process. So one thing I noticed when looking at your work, you identify as a nudist, and you center a lot of your work around nudity and the creative expression of the body. So can you speak about your avenues of creative expression?
So I feel very connected to my feminine energy when I'm nude, specifically when I'm nude. And through being nude, I express myself like through dance, like just moving my body. And it doesn't have to be like proper dancing. It's just a flow. And that really gets me in a creative space. It gets me in a meditative space. And I'm able to then receive visions or like messages of like ideas and stuff, and that will naturally put me into a space where I want to either paint or I want to draw on my iPad. That's what I've been doing more recently, just getting more into digital art. And I invested in an iPad because like I used to just use my laptop for like Photoshop and Illustrator, and it's really difficult, like not being able to like draw to really get what I want across. And I did do it, but I felt like it was very time consuming. And getting an iPad was like the best thing I ever did because it's literally I can take it anywhere. It's like it's just a pen, and the way it feels real. Like it feels like you're actually drawing on paper. So that's what I mainly use as my avenue. But I would just say like being in a state of like pleasure allows me to go into different avenues. So like, listening to my favorite music, dancing, having like certain smells. Like I love incense, so frankincense and myrrh I usually will burn out when I'm getting ready to create, or I'll light a candle. It's all part of it. Do you know what I mean? It all goes into like opening me up to different avenues. And I started actually writing music. So I'm getting into that because like I'm into like chanting, and so I want to create like a meditation EP. And
Nice.
yeah, and so like the artwork that I've been creating more recently has allowed me to show like time lapse videos, and I've shared that like on my social media, and I kind of on stories I would put music with it, and so this is all kind of like leading to like my own meditation music and having the visuals, and yeah, so I just feel like that coupled together is gonna just create even more creativity for me. So I don't know if did I answer the question?
Yes. Yes, that definitely answers the question. There was another thing you touched on I wanted to kind of point back to. You talked about the atmosphere and how you kind of use that to create.
Mhm.
And I think that's so important because sometimes as artists and creators, when we're sitting down working on something, we always think about the environment and how different stimuli impact what we create and
Mhm.
where we are in our mental space. And so now you talked about like setting the mood and music and incense and all of that. So I think that's a great takeaway for people who are listening who may not already be doing that. Like the stimuli in your environment definitely impact what you create and how you create.
Yeah, and also what I started doing as well is having a red light. So
Mm,
like I have a little lamp. Um, and actually, it's more of like a reddy orangey sort of fabric, and it's quite transparent. And I put it over the lamp, and it just transforms my room and gives a red sort of vibe. And it's a form of color therapy because I started doing it to like get into a deeper meditation when I would work on like my root chakra. I don't know if you're familiar with
mhm.
chakras, but yeah.
Yes.
So red is that color, and orange is like for creativity. So I would have the light, and then I would also sometimes play like chakra meditation music in the background.
Mm,
So I don't have to have music, and sometimes it's just this silence. But I think lighting, like different color lights, really affect your mood and activate different things as well. So that's what I've incorporated into my preparation and my practice, and I feel like that's definitely something people should like invest in, like just different
mhm.
color lights, because it's a small thing, but it's really impactful in how you create.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that. I think that's a really interesting strategy too, is to align, the colors of the lamp with the chakras and what you're working on. And I love how intentional you are with all of that. So, and I feel like like I said, I'm at like the baby steps of that where I'm aware of certain colors and certain things with chakras, but just to do it intuitively and have these different colors and things that you pull out to set the mood of what you're working on. And yeah, I think that's important to kind of note also, like how much your spirituality is a part of your creative process. What
Mm.
does that translate to in your work, in your paintings, in your pieces?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's entwined. Like if I even tried to separate it, I wouldn't even know how to now. Um,
Mm,
but in my artwork, like in the beginning, I didn't know that I was intentionally like doing this, but I realized that some point when I think it was maybe 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago, or a little bit further, when I was getting ready to do an exhibition. And I was just like sitting with my art, and I was like thinking about like the bio that I wanted to put so people knew what it is that I do and stuff. And I realized that I really do create work that helps people vibrate higher. And all of the paintings that I have, it's like women that are, they just look grounded in their energy. They just look evolved, and
mm,
they all are like extensions of me, in the sense of
mm,
who I would want to be, or who I
mm,
see myself as, who I see my highest self as. And even just having my artwork around the house, they've become like my spirit guides. Like they've become my protectors. Do you know what I mean? Because
mm,
it's the intention that I put in it, the energy that I put into the artwork. It really just like it changes the atmosphere. And
mhm.
so when I created the pattern life, I just wanted to incorporate that even more. And I recently started learning about like binary code and how binary code is like, it's like computer language. It's made up of zeros and ones, and we don't, our normal eyes don't understand it unless it's converted into text.
Yeah.
So I was like, it would be cool if I could like incorporate that into my artwork somehow. And zeros and ones aren't very appealing.
Yeah.
So I would, because I like to either put affirmations on my work or just have an affirmation like connected to the meaning of the work. And so I decided to convert an affirmation text into binary code and make it the same color as the background of my artwork, my digital artwork. And so
Wow.
it's embedded in the art. You can't like see it, but your third eye, your like subconscious mind can see it. And so it's to reprogram your brain into like seeing these numbers and understanding the language. And yeah, so that's the way that I've like really like infused spirituality into my work, like literally. And also just my use of color, because when I mentioned about like the lights, color has always been just like a constant in my work. I love color, and somehow I just know how to like place certain colors together, and it amplifies the energies of the colors. And I love to see things like intersect, intertwine, overlap, and there's a lot of layers to the artwork. So I take a lot of process pictures so I can see the progress, and you can see how like I layered the painting, for example, or I layered the digital art. And it all just comes back to us being layered souls. Do you know what I mean? Us having our own journeys, and like it takes
Yes.
a lot to get to the masterpiece. It takes a lot of work to be your best self. And sometimes as well, like we're not a, it's not saying that we're a finished product. It's just always inspiration for the next. You know what I mean? It's inspiration for who you are, who you're gonna evolve into next. So that's kind of how I see my spirituality in my art and how I express it. And then also just like visually seeing figures. And I do mostly have like women. I have one painting that has a man, and they're all black women, and it's a black man, and he is a real person. And I actually found him in this black and white photography book that I have, and it's all Rasta men, and he had these really long locks as well. And it was the fact that it was a black and white photo, and I wanted to just bring him alive, like his aura. And I love black and white imagery. And so I just wanted to add my little twist to it and give him like a blue beard. And blue is like very, to me, is very regal. I know we think of purple as regal, but blue, I feel, is just, it comes with wisdom. I feel like and there's so many different shades of blue, and it takes you to like a deep place because it takes you to water, and like it's very spiritual blue. So I put blue in my work.
Yeah.
Definitely blue, and so I'm very intentional with the colors. But yeah.
Yes, that just took me to so many places. Yeah, and I was gonna ask you about having women in your work, and what was the strategy behind that, but you kind of already touched on that. So like one thing to kind of piggyback off of that, I kind of, this connection that you said with how they are almost extensions of you, but then of course they're also these very real women. Do you find yourself, when you meet women or like come across women, that you immediately like connect with them in your art, like you see like this could be a potential artists that I work with, or you see something in them? I just thought that's very interesting.
Yeah. So, when I was speaking about that just now, I was mainly speaking about my paintings, but in regards to my nudities, and actually the name is nude coupled with deity, so it's literally to show you in your godlike self.
Yes.
And so just for like the audience to explain what that is, it's like I'll take a picture of somebody nude, and then I will cut out the background and I will basically edit it with their favorite flowers or their favorite plants, and I just add my style of like bright colors and like mark making, just abstract shapes and different patterns into the background. And it's like a collage in a sense, yeah. And it really is to show women and men in their godlike state, and being nude as well is just so profound. And so I've managed to find a way to show people in their most beautiful state, in the sense that it's their aura. It's like what you don't see. It's like what's hidden. It's the energy. So yeah, when I do meet people, I do think, wow, I would love to do a nudity with them, or like I'll see someone's Instagram page, and I just can already see the vision. But a lot of the time, people reach out to me if they want one, and it all actually stemmed from me posting my own nude. And one day I was just taking nudes, as you do.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, the way the lighting hit, I was like, I need to do something with this. I need to like, experiment. And that like creative freedom that I went into created my first nudity edit. And I posted it on my story, and then like I got loads of women saying, oh my gosh, can you do one for me? Da, 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 da. And that's kind of how I birthed it. So yeah, I feel like it's when people see it, if they want to see themselves in that way too, and they would be like, okay, would you be able to do this? Da, 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 da. And because of the pandemic as well, and also a lot of people aren't in London, so I can't do in-person photography. So what I started doing was we'd have FaceTime shoots where I would direct their poses, direct the where they are, because I can see the lighting and it makes it easier for me. Then I would like take screenshots of the pose that I want them to be in, and then they will recreate it with better quality, because FaceTime doesn't give the quality that I need for the artwork to look its best. So it's kind of like a collaboration in that sense, where I will direct them and then they will take it with their phone and then they'll send it to me. And then I'll do the whole editing and stuff like that. So I found different ways to go around, like either being in a different country, or just the fact that people can't come to my home anymore, because that's how I would normally do it. They'd come to my home, which is like crazy when you think about it. And I've had people that I've never met before, who I'll drive and I go meet them, but there's always someone who knows someone that I know. So there's some sort of connection there. But it's always funny to me when like we'd go into the space and like they just feel completely free just to get nude. Like there's no like talking into it, or like, like eventually it's like, okay, let's do it kind of thing.
I'm new.
I do love that, because that makes me feel like, okay, well, people do feel comfortable around me to do that. And really as well, like once you get into it, it's like you really get into it. And I noticed some women take a little bit longer to get into like a model kind of vibe, and I try to like separate that and make it not feel like you're doing a photo shoot. It's more of just like loving on yourself. So like a lot of the times, if I feel like someone is being a little bit too in their head about it, like how they're posing or what their body looks like, I just get them to like close their eyes for a second, take a deep breath in, and then like literally start caressing themselves. So as they start caressing themselves, I will tell them to pause so I can take the picture. And then, you know, as you start caressing yourself, you just feel more comfortable and you feel more relaxed. And so it doesn't feel like a photo shoot anymore. It just feels like, you know, you're just being like in tune with your body and you're just like naturally going into the pose. And that's what I really want to bring out in the picture, is you being comfortable in your own body and being like in your own energy. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to something you said they, you know, they see you when people saw you, they kind of wanted to see themselves that way. And I think that ties perfectly into what you just said about how women were kind of can sometimes be a little hesitant. They have to work their way into it. And I know nudity is so empowering in so many ways, but it can also be, you know, if you're not a person who's comfortable with your body, it can be very challenging to not only have to look at yourself every day, but then to like go out on a, you know, out of your way to say, like, I'm going to do a project, which I feel like would be like a one way to approach it, but it could be a way to approach kind of breaking out of that feeling so self-conscious about your body. And that's just so beautiful. It takes a lot to get to the place where you're just like, hey, I'm nude and I'm gonna just kind of exist in the space and I'm willing to be painted and whatnot. And I've done a lot of creative expression work with my body as well too. So I know that it's kind of a journey, it's an evolution to that level of comfort. That's beautiful that you help people have that experience.
Yeah, and also it's also been through me, because I have a lot of artist friends myself, or like photographers, and it's also been through me doing nude shoots with them to gain my confidence as well. Because I've done nude shoots like on a beach, like at night, like, you know, like you think, and it was like 3 women. So me being the person that was the model, the photographer, and then my friends, just like making sure that no one's like there kind of thing. So it was kind of nerve-wracking because like being on a beach at night, you know, nude, it's just like crazy. But you know, it really just, it was very freeing. And I even got like I put my whole body on the sand, and it was like I'd never experienced that before, like just being completely nude and feeling all the sand on my body. So I think it's like just taking that leap and being experimental with your friends, like people that you're close with, and just like doing a shoot one day, not caring and just doing it for the art of it, really. And that's how you like start to gain your confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to have people you trust that you can express yourself with freely, and they're supportive and kind of help you guide you through that. One thing you mentioned was how you've kind of had to adapt due to, you know, the pandemic, some of your process and everything. So another question about that is like, you know, as artists, we tend to internalize all the things going on around us. Like I kind of touched on earlier, that stimuli in our environment, and we express it in a medium. So how has the pandemic and just all of what 2020 was affected like your creative process as far as the journey and how you move through your art?
So I actually was working from home when everything happened, up until November when I quit my job. So my experience was being at home, and being at home really gave me the time to like explore my creativity more. And even though I was working, it gave me, I was able to manage my time better. And rather than like, you know, you'd have to like leave to go commute to work and then be at work, come home, and then by the time you get home, you're more thinking about like, what am I going to have for dinner? I need to bathe, and then like once you finish cooking and you've eaten, it's like you just feel like, okay, it's almost bedtime now. So the time that I had before to squeeze in like my creativity was pretty much diminished until this pandemic. So it got me to actually like revive a lot of projects that I kind of put to the side. And it also made me take time to like upskill, like learn new skills. And because like when I got my iPad, I didn't really know how to use all the things. I was just kind of experimenting. But then once I started to like watch all these YouTube videos about how to do this or how to do that, I realized that all I had to do was just like give myself time to learn and, you know, be better at certain skills and just practice. So yeah, the pandemic helped me actually gain more structure and be more skillful in my craft and master certain things, and just revealed to me like the abilities that I already had. And when you don't give time to that stuff, when you don't make it a priority, it can turn into like, oh, I haven't done this in so long, like I can't even remember how to play. Like, I mean, that's extreme. You know, you start to feel those things of like you've been so out of it that you don't even know where to start. But I think it's all just about devoting that time, like scheduling yourself in to do, you know, learn something new, or to you know, just try something really and truly. And it's just carving out the time. So it really gave me back that time. Also as well, like it made me create from a place of just being rather than like the opinions of other people. So I feel like before, when we could go out and we could you know, just be around more people and stuff like that, you'd be more distracted or more aware of other people's opinions, and also you'd be influenced by a lot of things. Whereas with the pandemic, I was able to just hone into me self, and so my creations came directly from me, not from like loads of different things going on. And that was really important for me, because then I was like, wow, this is just me. It's not like I'm doing this because someone else is doing this, or like I'm doing it for validation. I'm doing it because it really is just coming from the essence of me. So yeah, that's what the pandemic kind of taught me.
That's a good segue into inspiration. So like what you said it's coming from you. So what inspires you? What do you use to kind of get the
Uh,
creative juices going?
I think nature is my biggest inspiration. Like I have in all my art, I have some form of nature pattern in there, but being in nature um, inspires me because there's just beauty all around us, and all we have to do is just take the time to pay attention and, you know, look up at the sky, or like listen to the birds, or do you know what I mean? Like walk on some
Yeah.
grass, or like if you're near like a body of water, just like listen to the water moving. Like when we're in those moments when we're connected to nature, that's when our creativity is at its peak, because nature is always speaking, it's always communicating with us. We're all connected. So they have a lot, like trees, butterflies, birds have a lot to say. And I don't know if you've ever like taken the time to just like listen to birds talk to each other. Like they are really chatty.
Yes, they are very chat. I do
So
that.
chatty. And luckily I live in an area that isn't like in the city, so it is pretty quiet. I do hear like cars and stuff like that, but sometimes you can just hone it out and you can just like really listen to like nature, and that is where you get your creative inspiration, because it's like raw inspiration rather than, you know, going online and happening to see like inspiration that way, which is, and that is another way that I am inspired, through like Pinterest. I use Pinterest because I have like a fashion Instagram page that I just use to like post inspiration based on like fabric that has loads of patterns or really nice colors. I will post and I'll curate it. And so Pinterest really is an inspiration for that. Um, Also, as well, I would say like looking back at old sketchbooks when I was in school, because back in school we had to like document every single thing and show our progress, because you know it all led to like getting certain marks in your exam, and you know it was also just to instill in us like just so we can see how we got to the final thing. So when I look back at my sketchbooks, it would take me on a journey, and it would remind me of lessons and remind me of things that I would do that I could incorporate in my process now. um, so I would say, yeah, like going back is really good. And it doesn't matter that like maybe your drawings weren't as like the best thing or they weren't as great, but it's really the actions that you were doing, and the just the I feel like when you're younger you're more likely to take risks. Do you know what I mean? More likely to
Yes, definitely.
just do it just to find out what, I wonder if I add this color, what would this do? Or if I did this, and even if it just comes out like crazy, it's like you did it to find out, you know, you tried something. And I do look back so that it reminds me just to like do something for doing sake, rather than like doing it because like you want it to look exactly like your vision, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then music is like an inspiration for me, because um there's just certain, it's either like maybe the lyrics or it's the beat that just like triggers something in me and makes me want to like either like create to the music, like um like visualize what I'm hearing, or um just having the background to like calm me and like keep me in like a really vibey state whilst I'm creating. So
Yeah.
I think it all goes hand in hand. And then my friends, like my friends that are artists or musicians, they inspire me, because it's like we're all trying to like live out our dreams and like do what we want to do and do what is our purpose and our passions. And so when I see
Exactly.
like my friends doing their thing, I'm like, yes, oh my gosh, okay, I need to get my shit doing, like, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I think we all inspire each other. And um yeah, definitely it's really nice to have um people who understand you in that creative space as well. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that is. It's definitely nice when you have other people who can kind of collab and vibe with you. I have a few people close to me. I call them my chief creative collaborators because of that, you know.
Yeah.
And you kind of feed off of them and they feed off of you and you energize each other. So yeah, that's very powerful to have in your corner for sure.
Mhm.
So, one thing that I know you talked about patterns a lot, and you do have your site, thepatternlife.com. Um, what about patterns stood out to you? I kind of saw some of your patterns, and you kind of seem to play a lot with symmetry a bit. And then some things are pretty symmetrical, some things are not. So, like, Why patterns for you?
Because patterns are like, it's like a I like the repetition. I like to see the repetition, and it's almost like hypnotic, like it's mesmerizing, and it's also a form of mark making, like symbolism, and like when I was like learning about different artists, they were all white artists, like either very traditional or like if they were contemporary artists, they were all white until I got to university, and just by chance, literally only by chance, I had a tutor from America, and she was like, you know, your work reminds me of someone, and she gave me this book of Chris O'Feely, and he's a black artist from England, but his work is just so colorful, and like there's just a lot of symbolism and patterns in there, and it was like that's what I'm trying to do. And it's like until you see another artist, it's like you just feel like, what am I doing, kind of thing. And so I was really grateful to be introduced to him, and be able to see just work in such a vibrant way. And patterns, I feel like they're very I feel like they're archaic in a way, because when you look at ancient art, it's always to do with pattern, it's always to do with symbolism, it's mark making, like Aboriginal art, it's mark making, and it's like I feel like it's very intimate. So I love doing that. It brings like tradition and modern together, I feel. And then it just goes hand in hand with like colors. Do you know what I mean? Like color and pattern just like go together. So you can contrast things, and like and also because like I'm obsessed with abstract art. Like abstract art is really truly my first love. And Kandinsky is an abstract artist, and Henry Matisse, and they definitely inspired me into the whole pattern route, because I just started like doing doodles and stuff like that, like drawing just from what was coming from my mind. And patterns allow you to just be free with it, like it becomes its own form, and there's no restrictions on it, so anything can be turned into a pattern. So I think that's why I love incorporating that. And then also as well, like with the home and lifestyle brand that I'm trying to build and stuff, it's like I want to like incorporate not just pattern into like art prints and stuff like that, but like I want to get into like clothing. So like what I'm wearing right now, I love this. Like a lot of my clothes have patterns on them, and so I want to be able to like put my own patterns on fabric, and because I know I'm going to be quite intentional about what it is that I'm doing, and so that's what I'm going to transition into, because it's a lifestyle, you know. It's not just like oh, I like art and I have art here, or you know, just things in the home. It's like actually living and breathing the affirmations that I'm putting on this work. Do you know what I mean? Like having the affirmations on t-shirts with like a really cool pattern or symbol, and it's like it's all infused. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's you are, like I said earlier, so intentional about your creative process. And I can tell you spend a lot of time looking into like the techniques that you use, the mediums that you use, setting the mood. So like how long does it take you to complete a work, like from start to finish?
It really depends. Like sometimes I feel like my digital art is much more quicker, definitely. So sometimes it would take maybe like an hour or two to finish like one of my symmetrical pieces, because I use Procreate on the iPad, and it has a function that automatically like allows you to make things symmetrical. So it doesn't take that long to like create the pattern in that sense. But when it comes to like paintings, you know, like I could start a painting and then like leave it for a whole year and then come back to it. Or
I feel that.
or, you know, like, and that's fine with me. Like I'm cool with that, because in the time that I was away, I got experience from different things, or just was inspired by different things to then come back to it. And then with my nudity edits, it can take like a week, or it can take a few months. Like I remember I had a nudity that I started doing, and I must have like tried like multiple times different ways to like create it, and then I was just like, do you know what? I need a break from this. And then I took maybe 3 months away from it, and then I went back to it, and then like I just created the best thing ever, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. But now I know when I need to like, you know, take a break from it, and you know, and thankfully a lot of people that work with me or ask me to do certain pieces, they really just give me like the freedom, do you know what I mean, and the time,
and the space to create.
Yeah,
right.
They're not like, I need this like by blah 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 blah. And there are certain things that have deadlines, but for the most part, it's really just like trusting my process. And I really appreciate that, like people that just know me or just see my art, like because they know it's gonna be great anyway. Not in a like boastful way. It's just because I put a lot into it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna give you something half-assed. I'm gonna like really put like my love into it. So sometimes that takes time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful that they give you that grace to be able to create that piece, and I can totally relate to that as a writer. I have pieces I will put down for years. I will literally put down. I will write something, and I'm like, you know what? That takes a lot out of me. I don't feel like dedicating the emotional labor to that, so I'm just gonna work on something else, and then eventually I'll return to it and finish it, and it's wonderful. But it's like I needed that space, needed to breathe from it. I need to look at it from a fresh perspective. And a lot of times, it could be like a totally different me now. Like I could have been going through something at that time, and in that piece, and then now I'm looking back, I've moved past that. And I can look at it with fresh eyes and wrap it up nicely. You know, so yeah, I definitely feel that, having to take that space away from your art and returning to it, and you know, it's almost like you're collaborating with different versions of yourself.
Like my future self is gonna come finish this off.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. So we're going to get ready to wrap up, and I have certain questions that I ask all of my guests, and so we'll just run through those. So the first one is, what is your current read, a recommended read, or a past read that you would recommend for artists? It could be specifically to your craft, or artists who are on a spiritual journey and want to embed that within their craft. Whatever you think you should recommend.
Okay. I would recommend Children of Blood and Bone. Have you ever read that book before?
Yes, I have. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
Oh, okay. Well, there's like 2 books out, and I'm waiting for the 3rd book, because it is just the most amazing story. It's fantasy, and for people that are into like just the mystical, the magical, it gives a lot of visuals. Do you know what I mean? Like I love a book that really pulls out visuals just so easily, and it's like you're collaborating with the author, because it's coming is your vision, but like they are birthing it through their words. And so if you're a visual person, I feel like that book would be really inspiring, you know, to read. So Children of Blood and Bone.
That's a good one. I'm gonna add that to my list because that's come up in some of my book clubs. It's been recommended, and I'm always like, go ahead.
Oh, especially before they release. I think they're making it into a movie. So
I think I heard that. Yeah,
I think they're making it into a movie. I actually would prefer it as a TV series, like a Netflix series, because it's so detailed that like one movie wouldn't be able to
enough
in everything. Yeah, but
yeah.
I would say get it before they make it into the movie, just so that you can just like see it from just the book perspective first before you're influenced by the movie.
Okay, I may have to shift that. I tend to read a book and then put it down for a bit, and I've been reading Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, and I have put that down. So I may need to pick that up until I'm ready to return to that. Next question. So, how do you think your work impacts communities of color? Because, like you said, all of your work so far with the nudity is Black women.
Yeah, I think it impacts what I would hope in a positive way. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the intention. But also just like having Black representation in a way that isn't tied to trauma. And I'm not saying that artwork that speaks to like the shadow side or trauma isn't relevant or isn't needed. It definitely is, but there needs to be some balance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
right.
I feel like my work brings that like vibrant, positive energy. And also, I mean, I feel like it does make you look inwards as well. It does make you look inwards, but I feel like from a high vibrational way, through just the vibrancy of it, really. So yeah, I think just seeing yourself in such a high state, because we are like beautiful goddesses and gods, like we are.
Absolutely.
So it's important to see ourselves in that way, and not be like and it be a norm. Do you know what I mean? Like, not that it's like a rarity, it's like a norm. So yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah, I feel that we need to see ourselves exalted, in as many ways as possible, for sure. So, last question before we wrap up completely. What are some actionable steps that you would tell artists who are looking to work more of their spirituality into their work?
I would say get into astrology because astrology literally is like cracking the code to who you are. So I think once you devote time to knowing yourself more, learning more about yourself, you then will be able to align yourself with your path more easier, because you just know yourself. And astrology is a beautiful tool to learn and understand who you are. So that's one. Then be intentional about what you consume, because in fact, what it, you know what I mean? So like, whether it's on social media, like if you're following pages that don't align with who you are, or align with your path, or align with where you want to go, then it's a distraction. So, declutter your social media and like follow pages that are more in alignment with you and your path. And also be intentional about what you're consuming, like what you're watching. And this is not to restrict people. It's just like being more intentional about it. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
not if you know that you're always watching reality TV shows that have nothing to do with like your craft,
Mm-hmm.
like that. There's no inspiration there. It's just like gossip. And I love reality TV shows. It's just it needs to be some balance. You know what I mean? I need to be like consuming
Yeah.
things that like inspire me as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing is, do not take life so seriously. Like, really incorporate fun and play into your daily routine, because life is not to be like, oh, I need to know what my purpose is. I need to like be on my path and like, it's like, no, it's like you flow with life with discipline. You need to like, have fun and, work towards your goals, but like be light with it. It's not a heavy burden to like follow your path. It's really not. It's actually the more that you just be, the more that you just feel light and like, so yeah.
Those are all very powerful stuff. I related to all of that, especially about what you consume, and that's important. People don't often think about that. Like I learned a few years back, I cannot consume horror films like that.
Me
Like
either.
I can't. It messes with my spirit so bad. Like I can't watch that. And even just the reenactment of certain acts, period.
Yeah,
Violent acts. I can't watch it.
I don't like to see people being tortured or people suffering. If I don't
Yeah,
have
same.
to, why am I watching it? Like, I will skip those parts in a movie, or like, because like it really traumatizes my spirit. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I know what you mean about the horror as well.
Yeah. That's all great advice. So, this is the final question. So, for those who want to keep up with your creative journey, how can they keep pace with you? Where can they find you?
So my Instagram is Narisicia, Nariscia, and I also have a page just dedicated to my nudity artwork, and it's spelled NUDEITIES. And then for my website, it's The Pattern Life. So yeah, that's me.
And there you go. So that is how you can find Narisia. Thank you so much, really, really, for taking the time to talk to me. Because when I saw your work, I was like, I don't know if she will take the time, because especially finding out you're like on UK time and we're just like multiple hours apart. And I knew it was going to be a lot of coordination to get this set up. But I really appreciate you like sharing so much of yourself and being so open and talk about your process, especially when it's so ingrained with your spiritual journey, which sometimes can be hard to talk about. So thank you for your vulnerability and taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for like inviting me on. Like, I'm so glad I know about this platform now, and I feel like what you're doing is amazing. And the fact that we met through Clubhouse, or you heard me speak through Clubhouse, is just even more amazing. Like, we would have, how would we have met otherwise? So I love that you're like really taking opportunities to connect, really truly connect with people. And I loved like doing this interview. So of course I'd make time for this. So thank you as well.
Thanks for watching Blackxecutive. Join the conversation in the comments below and be sure to like and subscribe. You can find a full list of all available podcast episodes on blackxecutive.com or wherever you stream. Until next time, keep aspiring to inspire.